I'm sharing 8 tips for busy moms to have a better weekly Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom! Welcome to my channel. My name is Tiffany, and I'm a full-time working mom with 2 kids under the age of 3, raising a Jewish family. If you find yourself scrambling to make Shabbat happen, or often skipping it because you aren't sure where to start, stay tuned for the rest of this video as I share the top 8 things that help me and my family celebrate Shabbat every week. Also, please hit that like button if you enjoy this video, as that helps me plan out all my future content. Now, moving on to the tips. The number one thing you should do to have a successful Shabbat is to sit down with your family and figure out what Shabbat means to you. What do you want Shabbat to be for your family? What things are important to you? What are some things you want to do no matter what every week? Are you flexible on anything? These answers will help you determine how you should plan Shabbat each week for you and your family. It will be different for everyone, so you should take the time to figure it out. For my family, Shabbat is a time to be thankful and reflect on the past week together as a family. We prioritize family time and try to make Shabbat special. The rest of the week moves fast, and there's little time to just be with each other. So we make sure to use Shabbat as a time to focus on us. We try hard to do special activities, have a special meal, but most of all, we dedicate that time to reconnect as a family each week. My next tip is to plan ahead. I start planning on Sunday, but you should figure out which day works best for you and your schedule. I plan Shabbat keeping in mind 3 things. First, what does my work week look like? Do I have a big project coming up? Do I have a lot of meetings? These questions will influence things like when I go shopping, when I make time to set the table, how much time I can spend on cooking, etc. Number 2, I look at the holiday calendar and read the Torah portion. If it is a holiday, I make sure I plan accordingly. I tend to make those more special. Also, sometimes I like to theme our activity with the kids or our dinner with the Torah portion. So I do not prioritize theming to the Torah portion, but I'll do this if something inspires me. If you are interested in how I read and think about the Torah portion, I'll be starting a new series about that here soon. To help with this, I have a special Jewish calendar that tells me about all the holidays, the Torah portion, what time Shabbat starts in my area, that gives me easy access for me to plan quickly. Another website I like to use for understanding the Torah portion is Aleph Beta. They make videos that make it a lot easier to listen to the Torah portion if you don't have time to read. I'll link both of these websites below. Number 3, using all this information, I take note of what meals we're going to have, what activities we're going to do, and when I'm going to set everything up. We have a limited menu at home since we're encouraging our 2-year-old to eat, but sometimes I will break out a cookbook and try something new. This Challah recipe book is my favorite, by the way, and I'll put that below as well. Some other important things to keep in mind are cooking times, defrost times, if you are having any guests over, and any dietary restrictions. I personally plan a Friday night Shabbat dinner, a Friday night Shabbat dessert, and a Saturday morning Shabbat breakfast. My next tip is to prep the meal. Based off our planning, we're going to prep the meal. This includes shopping, pre-ordering, or prepping the food. If I'm making a home-cooked meal, I'll set aside time to prep the food earlier in the week, usually no earlier than Wednesday night, but more typically a Thursday night for me. We'll chop anything that needs to be chopped, and sometimes I'll even lay out dry ingredients that I need on the countertop just so I have everything easily accessible. If I'm really hurting for time but want to make a home-cooked meal, I'll buy things that are already pre-prepped to save even more time. If I don't have much time during the week, I will buy pre-cooked or frozen meals. This makes holding Shabbat much easier when I need it to be. I tend to buy nice frozen meals from Costco. Some of our favorites are lamb, shepherd's pie, and stuffed turkey breast. The number one thing to remember when you are cooking a frozen meal is to check ahead of time, usually during the planning phase, if you need to thaw it beforehand, and how long that usually takes. You don't want to end up without a meal because you forgot to defrost it. I've done this plenty of times. To save even more time shopping, order your groceries ahead for pickup or delivery. Now, if you have no time at all or cooking is going to cause more stress, then you can always order takeout. I do this on very busy weeks. Remember, it all depends on what you decided Shabbat means to you. If Shabbat means cooking a home-cooked meal for your family, then this might not be the best option for you. But for my family, it is totally an option, especially in a pinch. My fourth tip for a successful Shabbat is keep essentials on hand. Nothing is worse than realizing on Shabbat that you ran out of candles. I order candles and foil candle holders in bulk on Amazon, and I always make sure we have plenty of grape juice. If your family or guests are more into wine, be sure to have that on hand as well. Another essential to have on hand are ingredients for a simple challah: water, yeast, sugar, oil, eggs, salt, and flour. These are all you need to make Shabbat happen. Even easier, most grocery stores sell challah, so you don't even need to have ingredients if you don't want to. You can just pick one up at your local grocery store. My next tip is to plan an activity for the family. For us, most of the week is random and just kind of a free-for-all play once we get home from school. So I like to plan a few activities for Shabbat to make it stand out from the rest of the week. Sometimes I will try to make activities that match the weekly Torah portion. I always make sure I have activities that match a holiday. And on a normal Shabbat days, I try to just find something fun to do. Some activities we've recently done are bracelet making, painting, and visiting the Air and Space Museum. Sometimes we'll watch a movie together with a special snack. And I always bring out the Kids Shabbat play set. Right now, my son loves that. He loves to say the blessings himself. Activities will change throughout the years as our kids grow older, but I plan to always make sure we are doing something special together as a family. My sixth tip is keep the house tidy throughout the week. This is by far the most difficult part for my family. It takes a village. We each have a part in keeping the house tidy as much as we can, with two little ones and both my husband and I working full-time jobs. We try to reset the kitchen and the dining room every night. These are the two most essential rooms to help make Shabbat happen without stress. Now, we can't do it all, so we have help with deep cleaning the house weekly. This is a huge privilege, and there is no way we would be able to do everything we need to do stress-free without help. If you don't have help, I highly recommend setting your house up in zones and tidy up 1 or 2 zones a day. This method has worked great for my family when we needed it to. Another way to ensure a smooth Shabbat is to prep the table early. I find it much easier if I prep the Shabbat table on Thursday before Shabbat. I will typically pick up fresh flowers after I drop off my kid at school, or even sometimes on the way home. I always start with flowers because it's the most work on the table. After that, I just make sure the table is clean. I put out the candle holders, the challah board, and the kiddush cup. Then I put out the plates and whatever serveware I want to use. And finally, I put the kids' Shabbat toys on the other end of the table so they'll have something to play with as I'm getting dinner onto the table. Oftentimes, they'll bless their Shabbat candles and kiddush as we do ours. Preparing the table will depend on your family. We do not eat any other meals at this table, so it makes it easier to set up beforehand. If you use one table for all meals, you might want to set up your Shabbat table early in the morning after breakfast and before you leave for school and work. My final tip is try not to stress and actually enjoy Shabbat. Remember what Shabbat means to you and your family. This is a time to be thankful and reflect on the week. It's a time to center yourselves and enjoy your time together. So to recap, you should figure out what Shabbat means to your family. Plan ahead. Prep your food. Keep essentials on hand. Plan activities for the family. Keep your house tidy throughout the week. Prep the table ahead of time. And enjoy Shabbat. Shabbat comes every single week. Once you get the hang of it, it'll start to come naturally. Some Shabbats will be better than others, but all that matters is that you took the time to do it. My hope is that this will be something my kids will always remember, that we took the time to make each week special. I hope these tips help you have a better and stress-free Shabbat. I am working on a Shabbat Easy Recipe series and a Shabbat Kids Activity series. So if you're interested in watching those soon, be sure to subscribe and like this video. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful Shabbos.